Good day, everyone. This is the International Conference on Dance Research 2021, ICDR 2021 Goes Virtual of the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, National Committee on Dance. Once again, good day. I am Carlou G. Bernaldez, Associate Professor 5 of Negros Oriental State University, Main Campus, Dumaguete City, in the Philippines. I would like to present my research entitled Kasal Dauinanon, Dawin, Negros Oriental, Philippines. Let me begin by this introduction. The dance is the mother of the arts. Music and poetry exist in time, painting and architecture in space. But dance lives at once in time and space, by Kurt Sachs, Casting 2007. This significant statement marks the foundation of this study. As mentioned by Basilio Esteban S. Villaruz on his works, Philippine Dance Research and Documentation, that as process of retrieving information on the ways of dancing, dance research occupies a limited sector in the Philippine scholarship. The researcher conducted a study on the wedding dance rite of the Dauinanons in the municipality of Dawin in the province of Negros Oriental. The wedding dance rite is entitled Kasal Dauinanon, which means Wedding of the Dauinanon People. This dance research is anchored from the three related theories, namely the cultural theory, the dance theory, and the music theory. Dancing is not an invention of man, since birds and monkeys dance. In origin, dancing is a purely physiological action, or part in another way, the ordered and more or less rhythmic expression of an impulse of movements. Gabaw in 2007, the universal knowledge of dance is a movement using the body as the medium of or instrument to express its meaning or significance. In this study, he emphasized that the performance of dance is not just a new means of transformation, it also affects the content of dance. In traditional society, dance direct correlation with the function of dance events, whether an elaborate ceremony or a quaint ritual of just festive glee. The study aimed to describe and document the wedding dance rite of the local folks of the municipality of Dawin, Negros Oriental, Philippines. To preserve their cultural heritage and tradition, a dance literature and production were proposed based on the findings of the study. Specifically, the study sought to answer the following probes. What are the traditions practiced by the Dauinanons before, during, and after the wedding? How are these traditions preserved and promoted by the local folks to the younger generations? What costume and traditional practices are reflected before, during, and after the wedding dance? What are the features of the wedding dance rite in the municipality of Dawin in terms of movements, steps, music, costume, and literature? What dance literature and production can be proposed based on the findings of the study? The significance of the study. Cultural resurgence is a significant endeavor in any kind of culture or society because it countenances its populace to examine back and reflect the bygone days in its undertaking to accomplish development. The researcher is positive that this scholarly work would benefit and will serve as a baseline data. I would like to present the research methodology. This study utilized the ethographic design. The study was conducted in the municipality of Dawin, which is 15 kilometers south of the capital city of Dumaguete, here in the province of Negros Oriental. Would like to share the map of the province of Negros Oriental, and there you can see down south Dumaguete, you can see there Dawin with its map. The respondents' key informants of the study were 5 old folks, 5 choreographers, dancers, 5 municipal official tourism officers, 5 musicians, community, or a total of 20 respondents or key informants. The researcher consulted 13 other consultants to enrich the data. This study utilized the interview guide. These questions were all open-ended types used during the personal interviews and in the focus group discussion or the FGD with the respondents or the research key informants. The process consisted of three main phases. Phase 1, initial interest of the researcher to make a dance literature of this unpublished wedding dance rite began in the year 2009. Phase 2, the conceptualization of how the data were gathered, such as what was the dance like during this time period? Where, when, and why was this dance performed? Who contributed to the dance during this time period? And for Phase 3, the proposed dance literature was read by seasoned choreographers on the clarity of directions, specifications of all the details, and were given the highest approval. Let's proceed to how the data were treated. Thematic control analysis and qualitative analysis were employed in interpreting the data, in which all the filed notes, recorded interviews, written documents, photographs, video footages, and even recorded demonstrations from the respondents. And this is how I gathered the data. After I transmit a letter addressed to the municipal mayor of the municipality of Dauin requesting permission to formally conduct the study, the researcher met the key informants and formally scheduled the focus group discussion. The traditions practiced by the Dauinanons before, during, and after the wedding. Before the wedding, mamulong, this refers to honest declaration of a Dauinanon gentleman's feelings to his parents to readily marry. Comes the taluktok. Taluktok refers to 3 errand men commissioned by the man's family to seek permission from the woman's parents on a specified date to set the formal negotiation. Let's proceed to the presentation, analysis, and interpretation of the data. The following are actual photos taken during the conduct of the scholarly work. The following traditional practices of the Dauinanons before, during, and after the wedding were deliberated, confirmed, and validated through personal interviews and focus group discussion. A famous kagon or spokesperson was asked to give a sample of how pagkagon was done. Presentation and promotion of the tradition. Interview was conducted with Honorable Rodrigo A. Alanano on the local government's role in the preservation of its local traditions, such as the Kasal sa Dauin wedding tradition. This rich wedding dance tradition that could help younger generations link the past practices of their ancestors. The traditional implements used by the old folks during the wedding dance. We have the alumbak or balani, banana scrap or the banana stalk. We have the sagob, a native implement made of bamboo used in fetching water. Kulon, a native pot made of clay. Bugas, or we call it rice grains. The usual preferred grain used during this rite was the rice grain. A native bamboo cap with water, and the kalipay platito or the kalipay San Francisco and white orchid, or we call it the Phalaenopsis. The kalipay plant was identified as Codeum variegatum, known as Buena Vista in Spanish, Croton in English, or Sagila Tagalog, and San Francisco in Spanish. A native bamboo cap with water, and the kalipay platito or the kalipay San Francisco, and with water orchid, or we call it white orchid, or the Phalaenopsis. The other kalipay plant that was presented was identified as cap-leaf papua, or the Polyascus scotillera, better known as the platito in Tagalog. The puting bulak that was mentioned during the FGD is known to be the mariposa or the alibangbang, or call it the Phalaenopsis amabilis. The white santan and the sampagita as substitutes to butterfly orchid. The usual comb used was the tortoise or shell-side comb that has the odd number of strands as shown in the picture. The washing of the hands of the newlywed couple rite. During this rite, The dulang or the wooden basin was used with the usual measurement of 40 cm in diameter, 60 cm in depth, and 13 cm in height, and has a base of 25 cm. The humot or the paya. The giving of the food to the newlywed couple or the native plate and bowl made of coconut shell, a humot or native food container, the paya or the plate. Kawit and the pitlagong. The offering and toasting of the tuba or coconut wine to the bride's father from the groom as a gesture of respect to his father-in-law from a son-in-law using the native bamboo tube and the cup. Here we have the features of the wedding dance rite in terms of movement, steps, music, costume, and literature. The following items were gathered and collated since in 2009 when the researcher was commissioned to organize a complete dance literature. First, with the movements. The movements peculiar to this wedding dance were unorganized. The original dancers, when asked by the researcher, cannot even identify the movements used. They further explained that there were no definite actions as long as you, the dancer, can intricately perform the extension with a perfect timing to the music, and that was all about the dance. Miss Alfreda T. Laguda, 77 years old, one of the original dancers, expressed that when the music was played during the celebration, the dancers will just make their own movements, usually the pandango steps. I would like to present to you the dance movements, and of course the steps used in the wedding dance. The kabig, this is the Visayan term which means reception or to invite. Kalipay, this is a Visayan term which means merriment and happiness. The kinugita, this is a Visayan term which means a mimicked mating octopus. Kuput, this is a Visayan term which means hold. Hangyo, this is a Visayan term which means asking or pleading. Inuwak, this is a Visayan term which means flying crow. Pukas, this is a Visayan term which means exposing. And the steps of this wedding dance rite were not documented, not even devised or described through writing by the old folks of the place. This was the start of the twists and turns of the part, or even on the part of the researcher. The organization, the step starts with the katahuran, or courtesy, down to sulili, steps 1 to 8, and ends with the saludo sulili, or the salutation of the wedding dance. Steps peculiar to the dance. We have the katahuran, as illustrated on the picture, the pandango kalipay, the pandango kabig, the pandango kupot, the pandango kinugita, the pandango hangyo, the pandango inuwak, the pandango lanat pukas, the pandango ekes, and the saludo sulili. The above illustrated jovial and lively steps were perfectly illustrated by the respondents, all in the counting of 1, 2, 3 to a measure, or in a 3/4 time, the old melodies of the wedding dance. The above illustration is the undocumented melodies of the wedding dance, composed of 2 melodies, of which, according to Lolo Felizardo Zardo Arba, is 76 years old, and the oldest of the member of the string musicians in Dawin, and considered authority when it comes to music of the wedding dance, with Lolo Patricio Pragama, who is a family relative from the island province of Siquijor. This pushes the researcher together with Mr. Bibiano Ituayon, a music teacher of Dawin Municipal High School and a native of Dawin who knows in transcribing melody to a music score and conducted a recording session with Lolo Zardo, being the most respected musician in the locality. After the completion of the musical score, the researcher invited all the members of the comparsa, or a group of 6 string instrumentalists, for a discussion and a trial run with a written musical score. For the costumes of the traditional wedding dance. For the Sulili dancer costumes, as illustrated there, The respondents and the key informants added that part of the accessories of women every during social gatherings, particularly wedding dance rites, was a brown scapular, or we call it the scapular of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, also known as the brown scapular. The authentic brown scapular of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. The traditional costumes worn by the parents of the bride and the groom, and the usual outfits of the bride and the groom. The bride wore the traditional soft embroidered pinokpok. The gold, silver, filigree, or lacy metal ornamentation, or we call it tipay in our own term. The white veil or the bilo is additional headdress. Cascading bouquet also included there. The fine sinamay fabric, or locally known as the pinokpok. And of course, the ocular visit, the looms of Dauin, with the Loom Weavers Association. And the researcher's loom weaving experience. Sample of a cotton floral printed fabric used for the skirt of the Sulili dancers, as mentioned by the key informants during the FGD. Let's proceed to the literature. The figure substantiated above was the original script dated January 1980 and was written by the late Mrs. Euphrosinia or Diday Alar Tobio, a 74-year-old local folk of the municipality of Dahomey. The researcher gathered and arranged sufficient data which were collected and collated since 2009 up to the present through personal interviews, inquiries, focus group discussion, and drawn truthful and faithful details for the proposed dance literature and production that will retell the Dauinanon's rich wedding dance tradition. The whole process of the scholarly work in photo presentation. We have there the researcher with Mayor Neil B. Credo, the personal interview with Vice Mayor Rodrigo A. Alanano, the researcher energetic assistance there, costume consultation with Honorable Edwin Parajado, since, of course, the researcher successfully conducted an interview and discussion with Edwin P. Parajado, a 63-year-old designer. Parajado is an expert on negrense costume during the Spanish, American, and Japanese periods. We have here consultation with a designer, Ting Ting Delphine, and of course the researcher of the Sulili of Siquijor, Miss Nazarene B. Tumpong. Dance steps consultation with one of the original dancers, Miss Alfreda T. Lagudas. Personal interview with the famous Kagon of Dawin, Lolo Chofilo A. Alapak. Personal interview with Mrs. Rosabel Sanchez, the Municipal MPDC. Interview with Miss Edna R. Amante. And I have an interview with Manang Formida S. De La Torre. Dance steps consultation with Ma'am Rosita Elzazoa. And music consultation with Lolo Felizardo A. Baez. Computer layouting of the costumes. Dance steps and background context consultation with Dr. Peter T. Dayot, Dauinanon. Design terminology consultation with Professor Bernaldez Y. Araula is good in the vernacular. Props and implements consultation and production with Lolo Juan A. Monopolio. Personal interview with Capitana Maria B. Macias, who is good with the wedding ceremony and ritual. Interview with Honorable Proctoso Jun A. Sindiong, who is a writer. Finalization of the FGD schedule with Miss Luz R. Baiz. Final transcription of the musical score with music expert Mr. Bibiano A. Tuayon. The research respondents during the focus group discussion. The dance steps demonstration with one of the original dancers familiarization and practice session of the musical score, together with the comparsa instrumentalist, the researcher with the native implements used in the wedding dance. Particularly in photo 27, we have the flory consultation with Mrs. Rosita Z. Catarata, a zoology, biology teacher, and a botanist. Consultation with Professor Benedicto B. Osijo on the props and implements used by the natives of Darwin. The trial recording of the musical score with expert Jerry Angelo Z. Catarata with the GA Recording Studio staff. Final recording of the musical score with the original musicians of Darwin. Backdrop production for the video recording. The body measurement session with the researchers Taylor. The Pinokpok Sinamay dying with the expert Honorable Enriqueta B. Alcaide. The researcher and the tailor doing overtime in preparing the costumes. The dance practice sessions by the dancers and the choreographer who actually interpreted the dance steps and movements in the dance literature. Technical rehearsal for the video recording. The costume fitting with the dancers of the Kasal Dauinanon. Makeup session of the dancers with experts Jaynard, Melvin, Michael for the video production. The researcher giving the final instructions with the dancers for a true-to-life photo shoot of the costumes and implements. The photo shoot session of the costumes and implements of the Kasal Dauinanon. The costumes and implements of the Sulili dancers. The costumes of the parents of the bride and the groom of the Kasal Dauinanon, as reflected in the dance literature. The costumes for the bride and the groom of the Kasal Dauinanon. The researcher and the dancers. Findings and conclusions of the research. Important findings, however, were revealed. We have before and wedding dance rite, the newlywed couples carried on a conventional cart locally known as rayos. All of these costume and traditional practices are reflected with the pandango-based steps. The music is in 3/4 time and is played by 6 instrumentalists or accompanists called the comparsa. The melody is composed of 2 and considered repetitive for a very extensive and lengthy wedding dance rite. The existing dance literature of the wedding dance rite of the Dauinanons contains a brief narration of the rites of the wedding dance. The dance title Kasalan is a Visayan term which means wedding. Conclusions were drawn. The before and after wedding traditions are no longer practiced by the younger generations. The wedding dance traditions during the wedding, such as the candle cord, veil ceremonies, are retained. The pamalayi has remained a significant tradition practiced before the wedding, but no more kagon up to this date. The dance literature is narrative containing only the descriptions and sequence of the wedding dance rite. The title Kasalan is very vague for a specific wedding dance rite. The wedding dance rite of the Dauinans is not documented, having no complete dance literature, and is not video recorded. Here are the recommendations. These traditional practices before, during, and after the wedding be revived and incorporated to the modern wedding practices and be encouraged through the help of the old folks, particularly of the Christian community. The costumes and traditional practices before, during, and after the wedding dance be featured in every wedding dance rite competitions and presentations in the locality. The new enhanced and supplemented music should be used as the new musical score for the wedding dance rite of the Dauinans. The proposed dance literature integrating the essential features of the wedding dance rite be used and be recognized by the local government of Darwin, the local choreographers, dance trainers to exhibit the correct and faithful interpretation of the wedding dance rite. Here is the research time frame. Last March 11 of 2011, transmitting the letter to the municipal mayor to formally conduct the study. It was done completely. And then last September 17 of 2018, the Kasal Dauinanon dance literature was submitted for a copyright to the National Library of the Philippines, registered and copyrighted. Last September 2020, submitted for an international journal and paper presentation, published in a special issue during the International Conference on Research Outlook, Innovation, and Research Trends 2020, and on November 24, 2020, submitted to the local government unit of Dawin, Negros Oriental for recognition and honor, granted approved resolution by the SB Council members honoring the researcher and the dance research as the official folk dance of the locality. Here is the certificate of copyright registration and deposit by the National Library of the Philippines. Published in an International Journal of Advanced Study and Research Work 2581-5997, special issue during the International Conference on Research Outlook, Innovation and Research Trends 2020, last September of 2020. The published dance literature, music in CD format, and the complete dance in DVD format, and the resolution of the local government of Dawin making and adopting the Kasal Dauinanon as the official folk dance of the municipality of Dawin, province of Negros Oriental, and a resolution honoring and commending the scholarly work of the researcher. Thank you very much and Godspeed. I would like to invite all of you to watch the full-length video of the Kasal Dauinanon with this link. Once again, thank you for the opportunity, and mabuhay ang National Commission for Culture and the Arts, National Committee on Dance, headed by Dr. Shirley Halili Cruz. Thank you.